My brother-in-law sabotaged my car hoping I'd miss my job interview. The security footage made for great evidence in court. The morning of my biggest job interview in 5 years, I walked out to find my car completely dead in the driveway. Not just dead battery dead, but something felt seriously wrong when I turned the key and absolutely nothing happened. This wasn't some random mechanical failure, because my car had been running perfectly fine just the night before when I drove home from getting my suit dry cleaned. I had less than 2 hours to get across town for this interview that could literally change my entire life. After 3 years of unemployment following the company layoffs, this position represented everything I'd been working toward. The salary would finally let me move out of my sister's basement and start rebuilding the independence I'd lost when my world fell apart. My sister was already at work, so I called her husband to see if he could give me a ride or let me borrow his truck. He answered on the first ring, which seemed odd since he usually ignored my calls. His voice had this strange tone when he said he was too busy with important errands to help me out. Something about the way he emphasized the word busy made my stomach turn, but I didn't have time to analyze his attitude. Panic started setting in as I realized I had no backup plan and couldn't afford a taxi for such a long distance. The bus route would take over 3 hours with all the transfers, making it impossible to arrive on time. I called the company to explain my situation and beg for a reschedule, but they said today was the only option since the hiring manager was leaving for vacation tomorrow. Standing in my sister's driveway, watching this incredible opportunity slip away, I felt like the universe was actively working against me. The rejection email would probably arrive within hours, and I'd be back to square one in my job search. My savings account was already dangerously low, and I couldn't keep living in my sister's basement much longer without contributing more to household expenses. That's when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There were fresh grease stains on the driveway directly under my car that definitely hadn't been there yesterday. I popped the hood and immediately saw that several important-looking wires had been deliberately cut and disconnected. This wasn't mechanical failure or bad luck. Someone had intentionally sabotaged my vehicle. The realization hit me like a freight train as I remembered my brother-in-law's weird behavior on the phone. He'd been acting strange around me for weeks, making passive-aggressive comments about me living in their house and not contributing enough financially. Last week, he'd even mentioned how convenient it would be if I just stayed unemployed so I could watch their kids more often. I grabbed my phone and started recording everything I could see under the hood. The cut wires were so obviously intentional that even someone with zero mechanical knowledge would recognize sabotage. My hands were shaking as I documented every angle, knowing I was looking at evidence of something that could have destroyed my future. With nothing left to lose, I decided to walk to the nearest auto parts store and see if they could help me identify exactly what had been damaged. The elderly guy behind the counter took one look at my photos and whistled low. He said someone had deliberately cut the main power cables and disconnected the starter wires in a way that would make the car completely inoperable. The store owner mentioned that his security cameras might have caught something if the sabotage happened during business hours. My heart started racing as I realized my sister's house was directly across the street from this shop. We walked outside and he pointed to the camera that had a perfect view of my sister's driveway. After explaining my situation, the owner agreed to review the footage from the previous evening. We fast-forwarded through hours of recording until we found exactly what I was looking for. There, clear as day, was my brother-in-law sneaking out to my car around midnight with a small toolbox in his hands. The timestamp showed him spending nearly 20 minutes under my hood, occasionally looking around nervously to make sure no one was watching. The high-definition camera captured every detail of his face and actions. This wasn't some random act of vandalism. This was calculated sabotage designed to ruin my interview. The shop owner was so outraged by what we'd witnessed that he immediately burned the footage onto a disk for me. He said he'd never seen anything so deliberately malicious between family members. His own brother had screwed him over in business years ago, so he understood the betrayal I was feeling. Armed with this evidence, I made a decision that would change everything. Instead of confronting my brother-in-law directly, I called the police and filed a report for criminal mischief and vandalism. The responding officer was amazed by the clear video evidence and said most cases like this never have such definitive proof. While waiting for the police to process my report, I used the shop's phone to call my sister at work. I explained everything that had happened, including the security footage showing her husband sabotaging my car. The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. She said she'd been wondering why her husband seemed so smug this morning, and why he'd insisted on running errands instead of helping me. Apparently, he'd been complaining for weeks about me living in their house, and had been pushing her to give me an ultimatum about finding work. My sister was absolutely furious when she realized her husband had actively sabotaged my job prospects, while pretending to support my search for employment. She said she'd been defending him when I complained about his attitude, thinking I was being too sensitive about his comments. The police officer returned with paperwork and informed me that they'd be pressing charges for criminal mischief and destruction of property. The clear video evidence made this an open and shut case. My brother-in-law would be facing both criminal charges and potential civil liability for the damages. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. The shop owner had been listening to my story and offered to call his friend who worked at a major company in town. Apparently, they were hiring for a position that matched my background perfectly. He made the call right there in front of me and explained my situation to his contact. Within an hour, I had a phone interview scheduled for the next day with a company that offered even better benefits than the job I'd missed. The hiring manager was so impressed by the dedication I'd shown in documenting the sabotage that he fast-tracked my application through their system. 2 days later, I received a job offer that exceeded all my expectations. The salary was 30% higher than what I'd been hoping for, and they offered a signing bonus that would cover my moving expenses. My brother-in-law's attempt to sabotage my future had actually led me to an even better opportunity. The court case moved forward quickly with such clear evidence of intentional sabotage. My brother-in-law tried to claim it was just a prank gone wrong, but the judge wasn't buying his excuses. The video showed clearly premeditated actions designed to cause maximum damage to my employment prospects. He was sentenced to community service and ordered to pay restitution for the car repairs plus additional damages for the missed interview opportunity. The judge said the deliberate nature of the sabotage and the family relationship made his actions particularly reprehensible. My sister decided to separate from her husband after realizing how far he'd gone to sabotage my life. She said she couldn't stay married to someone who would deliberately destroy a family member's chances at employment. The divorce proceedings revealed that he'd been similarly manipulative in other areas of their relationship. Moving into my own apartment felt like reclaiming my independence after years of setbacks. The new job provided financial stability I hadn't experienced in years, and I was finally able to start rebuilding my life on my own terms. Every morning when I started my fully repaired car, I remembered how close I'd come to losing everything. The security footage became a local legend at the auto parts store. The owner said he'd never seen such clear evidence of family sabotage and often told the story to other customers. He kept a copy of the video as an example of why their security system was worth the investment. Looking back, I realized that my brother-in-law's sabotage actually saved me from accepting a job that would have been a poor fit. The position I eventually landed offered better advancement opportunities and a healthier work environment. His malicious actions inadvertently steered me toward a much better career path. The whole experience taught me to trust my instincts when something feels wrong. If I hadn't investigated the grease stains and cut wires, I might have assumed it was just bad luck. Taking the time to document everything and seek help from the shop owner made all the difference. My relationship with my sister has actually grown stronger through this ordeal. She realized how toxic her husband's behavior had become and appreciated my restraint in handling the situation through proper legal channels. We've developed a deeper understanding and respect for each other. The criminal charges on my brother-in-law's record have made it difficult for him to find stable employment. He's bounced between several jobs since the conviction, often getting fired when background checks reveal his criminal mischief charge. The consequences of his actions continue to affect his life years later. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just accepted the dead car as bad luck and given up on the interview. The sabotage was so well executed that most people would have assumed it was mechanical failure. My brother-in-law's plan almost worked perfectly. The auto parts store owner became a good friend and mentor after helping me through this crisis. He taught me basic car maintenance and how to recognize signs of tampering. His willingness to help a stranger in need restored my faith in human kindness during a very dark time. My new career has exceeded all my expectations and opened doors I never imagined possible. The signing bonus allowed me to not only move out, but also start an emergency fund, so I'd never again be financially vulnerable to someone else's malicious actions. The security footage served as crucial evidence in the civil case as well. My brother-in-law was ordered to pay additional damages for emotional distress and lost wages from the missed interview. The financial settlement helped me establish a solid foundation for my new independent life. Every time I drive past that auto parts store, I remember how a random act of kindness from a stranger changed the entire trajectory of my life. The owner's decision to check his security footage and help me document the sabotage made justice possible in a situation that could have remained unsolved. The experience has made me more aware of how family dynamics can become toxic when financial stress is involved. Living in my sister's basement had created tensions that I hadn't fully recognized until they exploded into active sabotage. Sometimes physical distance is necessary to maintain healthy relationships. My brother-in-law occasionally tries to contact me through mutual friends, claiming he wants to apologize and make amends. However, his actions showed a level of calculated malice that I'm not willing to forgive. Some betrayals are too fundamental to overcome, especially when they involve deliberate attempts to destroy someone's future. The job I eventually landed has led to several promotions and increased responsibilities. My career has flourished in ways that wouldn't have been possible with the original position I'd applied for. The sabotage, ironically, pushed me toward a much better professional path than I'd originally planned. Looking back now, I'm almost grateful for my brother-in-law's sabotage because it revealed his true character and led me to a better opportunity. Without his malicious actions, I might have stayed in my sister's basement longer and settled for a job that wouldn't have challenged me to grow professionally. The whole experience reinforced the importance of documenting everything when something seems suspicious. The security footage was the key piece of evidence that made justice possible and validated my suspicions about the sabotage. Always trust your instincts when something doesn't feel right. Today, I have a successful career, my own home, and a strong relationship with my sister who made the difficult decision to leave her toxic marriage. The sabotage that was meant to destroy my future actually became the catalyst for positive changes in both our lives. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best outcomes.